So Simon Fraser is the former head of the UK Foreign Office and a founding partner of Flint Global. Joins me now. How much more does Putin have to do to Donald Trump before Donald Trump actually responds and does something like he keeps threatening? 14 days will do it. 21 days will do it.
Well, I mean, Donald Trump thinks that he has got a relationship with Putin and that Putin wants to do a deal, and that's where he's mistaken, it seems to me. And it's true that Putin seems to have been playing Trump on this. And the other side of that is I don't think that American diplomacy has really been properly thought through. There isn't really a plan or a set of coherent proposals on the American side. So where this will go, I don't know, but I think we should prepare ourselves for this war to continue.
But that, at some point, Donald Trump's ego will be affected, and he will say, this man's making a fool of me.
Well, do you think so? I don't know how Donald Trump will react. I mean, that may be the case. Or the other thing that Donald Trump does is he just moves on to the next issue. I mean, he takes an issue, he declares he's going to do something with it. The rest of us watch that. Then he says, actually, it's done, and he moves on. So I don't know how he'll react. But at the moment, I would say American diplomacy on Russia-Ukraine is not working very well. And there is no sign that I can see that Vladimir Putin feels he wants or needs to end the war.
We've got a good example of sort of strong men of the world uniting. Kim, Xi, Putin, all getting together in China. But of course, Trump won't be there, and he'll be looking at these three. These men rule their countries without any worry.
Well, I mean, one of the unintended consequences of American policy is that he's driving these people together, and particularly that applies to India. India is really a strategic partner of the United States, particularly in relation to China. But now he's hit India with these massive new tariffs, which is part of his anti-Russia policy in theory. But the consequence is that he's pushing India towards China and Russia.
Is he not entitled to say to India, though, you want to play in our markets, you want to play with us, we're at war, or we're subject at this war, you can't have it both ways, India?
Well, he can say that if he wants, but you've got to deal with the real world. India is a major country, it's a big economy, it has a lot of interests, and you know, it has been improving its relationship with the United States because of its strategic rivalry with China. And he seems to be pushing it in the opposite direction. It does seem to be rather baffling to me.
We have to talk about Iran, because it seems like the Europeans are once again saber-rattling on that front. To what end?
Well, they are implementing the so-called kickback clause on sanctions that it comes from the original agreement in 2015. Because they believe that the Iranians are not abiding by the terms of that agreement. But, you know, it is a bit odd, this, because what has happened since then is that Israel and the United States have actually struck the Iranian nuclear program. So I think what you've got here is the Europeans sort of making a point that they think diplomacy is more important and that they have a say in this. But in reality, I'm not sure what difference it's going to make at this point.
Tough question.
Yeah.
Does anybody listen to Europe?
Yeah, I think people do listen to Europe, and they quite rightly should listen to Europe because it's a very big economy. Now,
well, Trump rolled them over on tariffs. He's managed to successfully get them over on NATO. Ukraine, no one's, you know, it's not going anywhere.
Well, actually, he listened to Europe on Ukraine last week because the Europeans went over there to stop him from apparently shifting towards some sort of notion of land swaps between Russia and Ukraine, and they stopped it. So they can have effect, but your point is a reasonable one. They tend to underperform because they're not united and there isn't a single voice.
Would Tony Blair at the White House for the Gaza? I mean, not that you may know, but you know, I mean, why would he want to tie himself to a policy from the administration that is clearly being critical?
So I don't know why he was there or what actually happened in that meeting, but I do know that Tony Blair does care a lot about the Middle East. It's an issue that he feels he has knowledge of. So I'm not surprised he wanted to be involved, but I think he needs to be careful because here again, the policies that the United States government is pursuing are pretty unpredictable, and some of them are, you know, quite unsavoury in terms of the attitude towards, for example, relocation of Palestinians from Gaza. So, you know, tread with care.
As a former top official who's used to policy at the highest levels, and let's face it, policy never shifts dramatically, or you didn't used to. You'd see nuance, you'd read the ruins, you'd see what might be. It must be quite fascinating for you to see this wholesale shift from one side to the other and back again out of the United States. Completely unreliable.
Well, it used to be more stable, it's true, and used to have clear relationships, and now it does change. So, for example, the United States says it is not going to participate in supporting security guarantees for Ukraine, and then a couple of months later it says, actually, we will. And yet it never defines exactly what that means. So that makes it much more difficult for America's allies. And what they are doing is they've learned how to deal with Trump, which is to engage with him, to sort of humour him to some extent, and to make constructive offers where they can, as, for example, on defence spending, and so to retain some leverage. And that's probably the best tactic for now.
The best you can get away with.
Yeah,
and get out of the room without having done any damage.
But you need to have a strategic view of where this might go if America's behaviour persists like this, because obviously this is not really stable for the long term.
Thank you very much. Very grateful. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you.